So where I was talking about how the observing self, if it's a force for good, it still can be conceived as a force of disassociation. It's a form of disembodiment. It's a form of not being in experience, but witnessing experience. And I actually didn't realize this until about a year ago. And I was doing some medicine journeys, and I shared with my guide that basically I did everything wrong. I took this like insanely heroic dose of psilocybin.
No.
Like a 5-gram dose.
Oh,
And
wow.
I lemon teched it too, which makes it more potent. I like calculate this all wrong. I do this journey on way too much psilocybin. But even on that heroic of a dose, I shared with my guide. She wasn't there with me, by the way. I did this on my own. I was like telling her afterwards about this foolhardy thing I did. That even on that much psilocybin, there was this part of me that was observing what was going on and was also being very critical. It was being very critical. It was making fun of my experience. It was talking about how cliche my experience was. This is while I'm on that much psilocybin. And she says to me, she goes, wow. She goes, I've never heard of a part so strong that it could sustain that kind of witness, and in this case, criticism, on an ego-melting dose of psilocybin. And I was like, whoa. Are you saying that this capacity that I have to witness myself at all times and monitor my experience and monitor my interactions that I've thought is such like a gift and a skill that, you know, is useful, and this is what Buddhist meditation, all this stuff. Are you telling me that might, when she called it a part, right?
Yeah.
Is some kind of coping mechanism, some kind of feature of survival and figuring out the world? And she was just like, yeah. She's like, most people who have that mushrooms dissolve into the experience and there is no witness. There's just it, you know? So that really made me start considering how witness consciousness is a really important tool, but how it is also a artifact of basically not being embodied, present, or in the experience.
So going back to what we were talking about earlier about being in director mode of life, where you're that pulled back part and observing rather than in the experience. With this, that you were having this experience, even a hero's dose was still not just getting you to pull fully out. Was that what I was hearing correctly? It was just like it still wasn't being able to fully pull you from that component of reintegration into body, but rather kept you in director mode.
Well, I think it is that amount of dose able to pull me in, right? I'm so out that even in that, that's right. And also I've been doing some form of observing self. I my first recollection of thinking about thinking, as I called it, in elementary school. So I kind of popped out of experience and into observing in one capacity or another a long time ago, to not only think that it was normal, but also that it was special. Like normal for me, special, but like it's my normal state. It's so perpetual that the idea that I'm not in my experience, that I'm just witnessing it all the time, did not seem not good.
So, I mean, you know, speaking more into that, it's like reintegration into the body and self. How, you know, where was the times when you figured out that, okay, maybe I shouldn't be in director mode. I need to be in this experience. Because you're like, you know, most of my life, it's a very ingrained part. I see, you know, a lot of men out there too. There's a certain capacity of where there's a lot of director mode, a lot of logic happening. And, you know, we observe our life from out here rather than just being in it, being in the moment, being present, and just, not getting into that body. I know there's a lot there. We can unpack each piece as a part of it, but
yeah. So I'll take it this way. I had this huge takeaway around belonging that started really started before the men's retreat, and then really took off on the men's retreat. So,
Hmm.
um, I'll just be super frank here, and we'll see if what the world thinks of this. Um, at the first men's retreat that I did in November, I really needed that retreat, and I really needed to go somewhere where I could be receiver and participant and not leader and space holder, which is what I
Right.
do all the time, right?
Right.
Um, and for like the first 24 hours, I was sort of able to do that, but then with each passing hour, I couldn't like this gravity started pulling me into clinical mode, facilitator mode, take care of other mode. And I was, as that was happening, I was losing my ability to receive. And
Hmm.
I realized that, like, oh, it's safer for me to be in leadership, in facilitatorship, in clinician mode. It's more comfortable for me to do that. Um, and it happens to be this combination. It's both like my dharma and it's part of my
Hmm.
purpose, but it's also where I have found a lot of safety in not risking being vulnerable and contributed to. So I was
Hmm.
aware of that from the last retreat, and then I missed something because I slid out of that mode of being able to receive and be vulnerable and into whatever competent place I like to be. I really didn't want that to happen again this time around in April. And so before I went in, I was with a friend and we did a Byron Katie worksheet, a belief worksheet
Hmm.
on um, like he said to me, like, what would happen if you were at the retreat and you let go of the belief that you had to be something other than a participant, right?
Yep.
And for a moment it felt good, and then this part roared up and it was like, no. And it said we're special. We're special. And then it said they're not like us. And it was like to me, I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. I think about belonging,
Hmm.
and what comes up is this part that insists, no, no, no. We're special. They're not like us. We're smarter than them. We know more. Like we can't connect to these people,
Right.
right? And that was sort of a really stunning admission for me to see out of this sheet. And what became very crystal clear to me is that all of us, if you anyone who's listening, if you're listening, you almost certainly have some kind of attachment injury or developmental trauma. And one could simplify attachment injuries and developmental trauma as some rupture in belonging, some
Yeah.
rupture in uh,
Care, nurturing, contact, all that.
all that, right? And it's also a rupture in I'm safe being completely me and being vulnerable and being um, porous to
Hmm.
other. If you learn that being connected to someone means pain, you're going to learn ways to not connect and not even realize that you're learning those ways. And so, on one end of the spectrum, on kind of the more, I just need to throw around language, on the more dorsal, shut down, passive, collapse side, is your classic introvert whose literal conscious conversation is, I suck, I'm a misfit, nobody likes me. That's
Right.
that's one side. The other side is the highly sympathetic, aggressive Elon Musk side, which is I've been hurt so badly by connection. I'm going to create this entire scaffold and superstructure of my specialness, that I'm not like other, that I'm superior to other, that I'm smarter than other, that I never belong anywhere, not because there's something wrong with me. It's because there's something special about me.
Right.
I'm Kryptonian. I'm from another planet. I have powers that these other mere mortals have. It's not that I've built up this whole scaffold of being a superhuman being that doesn't belong anywhere because I was so terribly hurt by relationship when I was young. It's because I'm fucking special.
I'm curious if this fits with that kind of modality, is those, folks that have to develop that. It's a survival instinct because you were just given on your own to survive. It's like maybe you were missing something, like I had to survive, so I had to provide it for myself.
Absolutely.
Provide movement, provide my own whatever it might be for me. And that's how I had to do, was to survive. And even sometimes that meant lie, cheat, do things to get by, even as a kid, which is incredible to hear.
Yes.
Not the good kind of incredible.
No, it's just
Yeah.
it's just what they had to figure out, right? Because this is where it comes back to. Oh, I'm going to try to loop it back in.
Yep.
When Dewey Freeman, our teacher, shared about the horses, and they're asking themselves two questions: Am I safe, and where do I belong? Those are two different questions, guys. Am I safe, and where do I belong? And one that could precede where do I belong is do I belong, right? It's really important to get how distinct those two questions are, because we're now, like, in at least the trauma-informed space, obsessed with safe spaces, biological safety. Are you going to hurt me or not? So we create a sense of baseline safety, but what I really got is that that's only one component of it. If you could be in the safest environment in the world among brothers or sisters that love you, but if your internal experience is that you don't belong and that you don't know where you belong, you cannot actually feel safe. You cannot stand down. You can't drop in. You may think you are, but you're not. Kind of like trying to bring this full circle here and going in ahead of time, realizing that I have this protective superstructure of I'm special, which actually protects me from connection and brotherhood. I went in wanting to move past that. And then the synthesis of working with the horses and the sense of belonging, as I felt like I belonged more, as I was able to drop the defensive structure of being special, that observing narrative mind that runs endlessly in an effort to somehow make me feel okay, even though I never belong, all of that stopped. There's parts of the retreat that I don't really remember. And that's unbelievable, because I never not remember anything. And it's implicit. What it's indicative is I got so I felt like I belonged and I felt safe enough and I was present enough that the endless activity of observing, monitoring, calculating, interpreting, analyzing, all of that settled. And I was just there.
Yeah. And if you mind if I make a comment about my observation, and even at the retreat with you, when I first met you, I was like, this guy's got a little bit of a shell to him. He's very much, analytical. He's going to be logical. But I was like, there's something inside of him. There's something a little bit more to his story than just this that he's projecting. And that projection, I think, was a little bit, everybody, when we first meet at a retreat, there's a little projection of safety. We all do it in different ways. We become quiet, we become loud, we pull back, we have that little bit. But then I started seeing you interact with some of the men there on a deeper level and interact with me. And I was like, there it is. There's his presence. There he really is. And that presence itself is welcoming, it's warming, it's inviting. And I was like, this is a good man here. And that's what I saw. And that's, I think, and I'm curious too on that. But once that shell was a bit broken from what I believe might have been a split between the logical side of the brain and down into the body, once you got into here, there was a nice warm softness to you that you just had with other men and making connection.
Thank you. It's interesting that, I'm a somatic experiencing practitioner, and I, have a lot of experience with somatics. But I think what you're speaking to, and what we can talk about here, is there's a difference between somatic awareness. Like I've been very aware of my body for a very long time, in really exquisite detail. And there's folks who are very somatically aware. They can tell you what's going on. They might even be able to tell you what's going on, emotionally as well in their body. They can have nice detail.
Yeah.
But that's still an observation rather than an embodiment. And this is what I think you're speaking to a little bit, between that like logic and being down there. Like this is something that's hard to explain because it's a felt experience, but embodiment is actually having the location of your psyche and self around the area of the heart rather than in the area of the head.
Mm-hmm.
If you think about it, if there was a mini Phil inside Phil, and for almost all of the men in this podcast, that man probably lives in you, but just behind your forehead.
Mm-hmm.
Right? If we were a mech warrior, our little person does not live in the chest. He lives behind the eyeballs. And I like to say that that little person is our, and I use the verse, it's our psyche. It's the location and sense of self, and it's also where the looking happens from. Most of us are in the attic, in the head.
Yep.
And that presents in a certain way. And that's what you saw when I first arrived, right? And by the way, it's safer up there. Then I think with belonging, with safety, with support, embodiment is actually a locational thing. It's a thing of the little robot, the little dude piloting Phil and Karden, taking the elevator back down into heart and body. And instead of reporting on the embodied experience, it's just having the embodied experience.
Yeah, he's with the core of the mech.
With the core
the power.
Of the mech. That's right. Yeah, exactly. And none of us, basically, trauma, attachment, injuries, stress, since the body is what experiences all those things, we evacuate the body and live in the attic, because it's like, well, like I said, this feels a little safer. It feels a little further away from the pain. It's also further away from the pleasure and the connection and the warmth.
And I think to extend that beyond, it's like a lot of times when things happen to us when we're very young, like between 0 to 6 years old, we're just more of a nervous system at that point. And anything that happens to us, it's more of a felt experience than a logical experience. We can't explain it. It's an emotional experience. It's feelings. And that's why it also lives in the body, because that vagal system and everything is just so interconnected into all the different parts of our body. And when it's felt there, it could just shoot this electrical feeling or emotion down into it, and it gets stored down in there that we forget, because once it starts to come back up, you feel this wave of coming up from wherever it is, from the body, instead of the mind telling the body. It's coming up and saying, no, here's where the motion is. Here's where I felt something that I haven't allowed to be felt in a long time.
And you can imagine that if your brain and body were capable of a trick to get you out of badness down there when you were young, you would take the elevator to the penthouse.
Mm-hmm. Has a nice view.
It has a nice view, and at least it has the illusion of not feeling the bad things.
Yeah. We don't want to see that the foundation of the building's cracked.
No.
What is like the first start of generating connection, of actual embodiment? And not just saying, like you were saying, oh, I feel that other people have something there, or because even therapists and body workers and all those people out there, they're very intuitive, and they can take signals from other people's bodies and feel to that. and like you said, can observe things happening, but to be in it and taking that first step to be in it.
Yeah.
So hoping we could unpack that a little bit more as well.
Well, I think first step, now I'm going to double back a little bit and say that for a lot of men, the first step is actual developing skillful somatic awareness. Let's do that first, which will lead to embodiment if done right. Most men, the primary, they're either not feeling their bodies, or the only two other sensations three would be pain, hunger, and arousal. And maybe laughter, like they have humor. But I'd say the main non-cultivated male's experience of their body is either they're not feeling it, they feel pain, they feel hunger, they feel arousal, and they feel humor. But they don't feel much else. Like when they're with their partner and it's like, you know, they say, I love you. But I think other than when feeling aroused, and I don't know if, and outside of like the initial phase of being infatuated with a partner, they're not having feelings after that. Right. The whole subtlety of everything from like sadness to grief to joy to love to warmth. There's so many colors to that feeling palette in the body that men just aren't clocking. I don't think men also will say things like they won't really acknowledge anxiety usually, but they'll say, I'm stressed. You know, they use these abstract, distant words rather than really knowing what's going on. And most people skip feeling and go right into behavior. So they'll see themselves like going to the gym kind of obsessively or eating obsessively. They'll look at the behavior, not realizing the behavior is a result of an internal somatic sensational experience that's not good. They don't feel the not goodness. They just go right into the behavior.
I'm guilty.
All of us. Yeah. So when we what we want to do is we want to slow that down, and there's a whole variety of ways of doing this. But why don't we do just like an easy doorway in? Can we do like a brief exercise?
Perfect. Yeah, let's do it.
So we're going to do a brief exercise, and we're going to riff this off of a model from Peter Levine, who created somatic experiencing. He has an acronym that helps with embodiment called SIBAM. And SIBAM stands for sensation, image, behavior, affect, which is a fancy word for emotion, and M is meaning. But Phil, if you'd be kind enough to just close your eyes.
Yeah.
Everyone listening, unless you're driving, can do this too. Dropping in, Phil. Everyone listening, noticing your body. And I want you to allow yourself to notice the area of tension that is the most noticeable. For some of you, the area of tension is also an area of pain or discomfort. Like my neck's always bothering me, or my sciatica, or whatever.
Yeah, for me, it's upper back.
Great. Perfect. So Phil, it's upper back. And I want you to choose 3 adjectives to describe the sensations, how the muscles and the tension is. Can you give me some words, 3?
Yeah. Muscles are very tight, tense, very solid and blocky kind of feel.
Tight, solid, blocky. Amazing. Mm-hmm. Stay with that for a sec. Now, everyone listening, you've used your own adjectives. There's a lot more information here. So the next thing I'm going to ask you all to do on the area of tension, if that area of tension were like a Pixar character, what would the facial expression and mood of that particular area of tension be? And just be curious. You might get an image. You might feel the mood in your body beyond just that local area. You might even get a desire to do an action. So what else do you got, Phil? What came up?
When you first said Pixar, it was a lamp. But it's actually it's not a far off description. It's like there's not much of a face to it. It's not happy, but it's not sad. It's just neutral.
It's just neutral.
Yep.
Stay with that a little longer.
Mm-hmm. But also maybe rigid like the lamp.
Rigid.
Mm-hmm.
Really be curious. There is no tension in the body without an emotional correlate or a reason. And that reason is not structural. Is it bracing? Is it protecting? Is it preparing? Is it wound up?
Yeah, very much bracing.
Bracing. Great. Now, guys, we're not fucking dumb. What is the reason why an animal will brace? What is it preparing for? Is it preparing to get kissed on the lips? Is it preparing to be given a treat? Fuck no, it's not. The only reason tissue would be bracing, throw out a reason or two, Phil.
Yeah, it's either bracing to get ready to run like a prey animal, or ready to attack, or hold weight.
Yeah, it's preparatory for an action.
Huh?
In either case, it doesn't feel safe, does it?
Mm-mm.
Right. Oh, so this inquiry, we're going to stay with it for another minute, is, as I tune into tension in my body, there's so much more information there other than, it's tight. I got to get on the foam roller, bro. That's just beating tissue into submission with no inquiry to why it's tight in the first place. Like, don't get me wrong. If you've just been at the gym or whatever, you've done some serious physical activity and you have some post-activity tension, that's different. But this is the kind of tension we're carrying around with us 24/7. This is the tight back that's there when we're laying on the couch and not doing shit, and nothing should be tight. But it's tight because the autonomic nervous system is in a perpetual state of some kind of dis-ease. It's saying there's something wrong. You might have been keeping this shield up for years. And so it's this process. We're going to stay with it for actually, let's do this, Phil. Last but not least, if that area that's blocky, that's tight, if it had a choice, if it could take an action, if that Pixar character could do something, say something, move in any way, what do you imagine it might want to do?
For me, it's like it just doesn't want to brace anymore.
It doesn't want to brace anymore.
Yeah.
And would that look like just some movement and stretching? Would it look like, does it need to be comforted?
Yeah, just needs to be let go.
Just needs to be let go.
It's kind of what I did, just rolling shoulders back there. Yeah.
And I'd add to this that it's not, hey, traps, let go. It's like, hey, nervous system, or hey, like younger version of Phil, or hey, whoever, like we don't need to be at DEFCON 1 right now. We're okay.
Yeah.
Might want to roll the shoulders a bit of it. It might have a little energy it needs to discharge. But now you can open your eyes and come back. So there are ways to go into the body and actually go into the body with inquiry and realize that like almost all tension or dis-ease in the body, whereas I think most men from a gym perspective, from a PT perspective, from a sports perspective, are always working with their body like it's some 18th century thing made with gears and pipes, right? As
Mm-hmm.
opposed to the most state-of-the-art piece of software run Android ever. And you want to see what's going on in the software way more than you, because the hardware is almost always being driven by the software in the body, but no one does that inquiry. So that's a big part of what it means to become somatically aware. And it really means seeking out the emotions, the survival, the safety state, and kind of other correlates to what's going on physically.
Yeah. Wow, that's beautifully stated. And I mean, some background, because of the work I've been doing in that, it's, throughout my life, it's been a lot of support, having to support others. And that's why it's shoulders and upper back are very rigid. And yeah, a lot of that. So just a quick background of what some men may be out there feeling too. It's like everything supported, having to be endure it and take this on. And yeah.
And I think that's an exact. Whoa, my body through my nervous system is habituated to having to maintain tension because that's what it thought was needed to support others, right? Also, when we don't have a solid psychological and physical connection to our deep core, we will use the superficial musculature to maintain structure. That makes sense?
Yep.
So we'll use the siding of the house instead of the columns when we don't know how to connect to our columns.
Right. And that's where the healing begins.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, you do a lot of work with core and ground, right?
Yeah. And that's, a place for healing. It's where we start our getting grounded journey. We can't ground ourselves to something, a vision, a purpose, or wherever we want to go in life, if we don't understand what's under the roots and the foundation, if we don't know what we're building upon and it's loose sand, a structural sink, or know how to build in loose sand, which, you add large pylons until you reach bedrock.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the real key component of understanding the body and the places we need to heal. To me, that helps build both a solid structure that can be resilient in the future. Once you know, and quoting Dewey Freeman again too, and the things that we learned, it's like being able to come out of a tough time and be okay, knowing you're going to be okay because you have this resilience that's built in now, because you tapped in to the roots, the structure, the columns of your body.
Yeah. And I think most people need to have that redone because that's not how it was done.
Yeah.
Right. It's kind of like we broke a lot, and so I think about my experience wrestling in high school, which was basically a experience of just like brutal work and shame, right? It was not a positive experience. It's not one where I was supported when I failed or fucked up. I was criticized or shamed or, chastised. And then men are really good at feeling shame and then covering it with anger or determination and and still going. And it's one of the things like wrestling and those experiences of adversity, they did make me tough, but they made me tough at a huge cost. And they made me very superficially tough that people would say was just generally tough. But no, it was all of my toughness was built on top of a terrible caramel nougaty core of shame. And that's a horrible way to build resilience and strength. So imagine, I think about my children and them going through the same kind of, let's just say, physical or sports adversity, but them being supported, them being celebrated for their accomplishments, but them also being like really held and seen and cared for when they failed, and then an arm extended out to them to lift them back up, and someone, let's say, training with them to get them strong again. Like rites of passage where we need to break in order to survive are not actual rites of passage. They're injuries that we survive, right? So I don't know if folks can relate, but was your toughness built on covering up shame and feeling like shit, or was your toughness really built on camaraderie and care?
Yeah. Such a critical piece. And for dads out there too, and moms that might be listening, allowing your, having your child and building your child with a good foundation, it's tough to do, to be full contact all the time. But and I think there was a study, I can't remember exactly where I heard it from, it's around 30 to 40% of the time is really the component of saying you're meeting their needs and you're meeting them with contact. The powerful phrase I learned recently of saying I love you to keep contact, but saying and.
Yeah.
We're saying this and.
It definitely takes a lot of consciousness. It takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of self-awareness and self-control. And I'm glad you quoted the percentage because at the trauma research conference last year, the really skilled child development team was like, it really does look like the right ratio of contact or attachment is 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. And what does that look like? 1/3 connection, 1/3 rupture, 1/3 repair. And that creates the most resilient children in sort of their longitudinal studies so far. So like when you have either the helicopter parents or like the two therapist parents that like never have any problem, like we're always soft voiced and there was never real rupture and there was no violence, that's not helpful for a child either, because what creates resiliency is rupture and repair. Rupture is attachment plus rupture and repair. It's like, whoa, bad things can happen. Mommy and daddy can get into a fight, or mommy and daddy can get mad at, can not have self-control and blow up at his little girl. And then within just a short period of time, he can come over grounded, apologize, find the connection. The child learns, whoa, scary things can happen, bad things can happen. And then they can really return to being okay. And not only that, you don't have a parent manipulatively being like, well, it's because of what you did, right?
Yep.
F that noise. So let you just know that 1/3, 1/3, 1/3 is really the recipe we're looking for. So don't beat yourself up every time you F up. But also know that repair is really, really important.
Yep.
And then again, Dewey saying separating personhood from behavior. Like you're not bad. So another thing that I like to say is limits. So some people say loving limits, and I think that's totally right. I also say like boundaries without malice.
Say more.
I'm at my best as a father when I can apply a boundary to my children without anger, without charge, right? It's no, you cannot do that. I know you, no, you cannot do that. Honey, stop. There's a firmness, but it's clean, right? It's a barrier, it's a boundary that has power and even some force to it, right? Like sometimes if my daughter's hitting my other daughter and she won't stop after I repeatedly ask her, I grab her wrist, right? I grab it just firmly enough so that she stops. I grab it just firmly enough that it doesn't feel good. But at best, my fist is not angry. My fist is just you can't do that. That's what I mean by boundaries without malice.
It's that structured softness.
Structured softness.
That's
right.
Yeah. And no, it's beautifully stated. I wanted it to reinforce that when rupture occurs and the key of repair in healing is also very much the things that we need to learn throughout our life as things happen, that resilience, understanding things can rupture in our life and will rupture in our life. And the key is, how can we repair? How can we get back? and even build stronger of a structure. And also the fact that we're not perfect. There's no such thing as a perfect father or anything on that level, or perfect mother. There will be times where you'll cause something that will hurt, that you didn't mean to say, that you yelled a little too much, or maybe you were super stressed out and, you know, you said something you didn't mean. Coming back and making repair in contact is vital. And no matter where you're in with kids, with relationships, and relationships being wife or girlfriend or friends or family members, anything.
Also,
And
men, don't cop out and put this on your partner.
yeah,
Don't cop out and put this on your partner. Meaning, I've felt the temptation many times when I have been triggered and snapped at my kids and either not wanted to repair because I've been fucking really activated and be like, oh my gosh, if they if they throw one more piece of steak on the ground, whatever it is, right? Or if they don't listen. So the places where I've snapped and lost it, the first temptation is just to no, I'm not apologizing, I'm not repairing, I'm not reconnecting, right? I'm just so angry. But the second one is to let your partner do it. I'm too angry, but Jillian, you make her feel better. You go take care of her. I can't do it right now. Maybe for a moment, in the moment when that child's distressed because you snap, the other parent can come in and help. I think that's really useful. But ultimately, that's not the resolution. The resolution, her comforting, does not create repair between me and my daughter, right? So eventually, I have to come back and I have to take responsibility as her father for the emotional break that happened, and also repair first and correct after. So repair first, really have that repair there, and then say something. So I want to say, basically, don't pawn it off on your wife to make the kids feel safe and to do the emotional repair, because that's very damaging to the kids. It shows them that men aren't safe. It shows them that their father isn't safe. It shows them that men don't have to take emotional responsibility for the hurt they cause.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to presence that.
No, and I think that's fantastic of an example. And it shows what real men can be and are, is not this hardened, toughened thing saying, oh, I'll never apologize to my kids. What? No, being able to show how you can maintain yourself in a structured, soft way when approaching things, to say, what I stated or what I did, I'm sorry, it wasn't who I was in this state. Kids will understand, and they may not understand even all the words, but the felt experience. And two things I wanted to state is, I wanted you to give an explanation of what contact is, because I don't think we've explained it fully, just in case anybody new is listening, what contact really is. And I would love to hear it in your words. And then second, you can't initiate repair on that level without having some level of embodiment and understanding yourself.
Totally.
Because you can't say it from here that you need to.
In fact, let's start on that one. Before I even became a parent, I heard about attachment parenting. And being from New Jersey with a bunch of cultural baggage, I was like, whatever that is, right? But what I would observe is, I would observe parents that they themselves were deeply anxious, but they would do, quote, the attachment parenting. They would be present with their kids, talk to their kids, contact their kids, or touch their kids. They would do the attachment parenting stuff. They'd even co-sleep with their kids, for example. But they were deeply anxious and dysregulated inside. So although they did the performative aspects of attachment parenting, their kids were very dysregulated, because especially children, they are not monitoring really your words. They're monitoring how you're saying it. What's the tone? What's the body language? So like, kids are actually more like horses, right? So Phil, again, bringing Dewey back in.
Yep.
Dewey says that when a person approaches a horse doesn't care if a person's scared. They get freaked out if a person's scared and they're pretending not to be, right? The horse wants you to be congruent. They want how you're feeling and acting to be the same way. And they're very sensitive to it. Children are also extremely sensitive to the same thing, right? And so if parents aren't congruent, if they're acting and performing in a caring way, but inside they're feeling deeply anxious, they're depressed, they're distracted, they're acting present, but they're thinking about work, none of that fakes out a kid. None of it. None of it. None of it. It doesn't even fucking fake you out as an adult, except that we're conditioned to accept it. So performative attachment parenting does not work if you are not aware of yourself and actually doing your own embodiment, so that your actions, your words, your actions, and your deeds, and how you feel in your body are all ching, 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 ching in alignment. The times that I've tried to apologize to my daughter when I'm not yet at peace in myself with what happened, she knows. It's amazing. She's like, why are you making that face? Like, she just knows. It's not, she will not take a pseudo repair. Thank God. Because my wife and I have trained her so well. So like, and now I know that like, I can't go in and try to fake the apology until I actually have worked through my anger or my upset. So let's just say that you gotta be fucking walking the talk. You gotta be.
Yeah.
And this goes back, now we'll take it to contact. Let's start here. Imagine you have an upset baby. And one person is given the task of soothing that baby with words only. The other person is allowed to touch, hold, rock, and interact with the baby through contact. Phil, who's winning?
Definitely the touch, because also when you say words, there's no tonality is what I'm thinking, no emotion behind it. It's just purely words, like as if it was over a loudspeaker.
Exactly. So everyone instinctually knows, whether it be with a baby or an animal, if you are trying to connect with it or soothe it without touch, you're screwed. You're without a paddle. Because the primary language of actually connecting with a human being or any living creature is contact, not verbal. Now, here's a second thing. Let's take it further. Now you're both allowed to be in contact, okay? But one of you is actually confident, capable, cares, and is in some way sort of intuitively, if you will, attuned to the baby's distress. But the other one is like, that classic, like, awkward dad who's even afraid to hold the baby. Now you're both making physical contact, touch, but who's really in contact?
Right.
And which form of contact is more soothing and reassuring to the child? So this is my way through metaphor, because everyone's seen this, either in real life or in a movie. You can all imagine that first, touch versus no touch. The person with touch has advantage. Then once touching, the one who actually embodies safety, confidence, competence, care, and connection to the child or the animal versus the one who doesn't, you're going to get a completely different response. So contact is the actual present, attuned, caring, feeling, emotional exchange with someone. That's what contact is. Contact is listening without waiting for your fucking turn to talk.
Now, I think what you stated was beautifully exampled out, because you can provide something like nourishment, like think of a mother breastfeeding. She's looking at her phone, though, texting her friends. That's breaking contact. So while you might be in touch and all that, but your attention and focus and emotions are into whatever text message that you're sending. And now this baby's only getting maybe 50% of that contact.
Yeah.
It's not real. It's not 100% that it needs, because it needs that love, support, feeling, because that emotion is such a strong thing. And to me, the emotional side is probably the heaviest when it comes to contact and what you're putting out.
Yep.
With
I'm so
that
glad you
truly
mentioned
from the body.
attention, because
Yeah.
I don't want people to just think it's physical contact. It's physical contact with a profound amount of intention, and intention has psychic, emotional weight to it.
What is my intention, my real intention coming from my body? Because, and that's the thing, like you were saying earlier about your kid, they're probably detecting what's your real intention coming from here, or is it just a half felt kind of logical, hey, sweetie, I'm sorry I didn't do that. It's like, hey, sweetie, I'm sorry I did that. I didn't mean to yell. I was just very stressed. Quite a different way.
Yeah, basically, kids are like living lie detectors, dude.
Yeah.
They know.
No, I think it's a beautiful way to state everything that you said there, is that intention. I really like that. The intentionality behind it, the real intentionality, is a part of embodiment.
And by the way, this is what our partners want in a relationship. So every bro out there who's like, well, I who's in provider mode or doer mode. Well, I do everything she asks. I play with the
Yeah.
kids. I take out the trash. I even listen to her. Right. When women speak about how we're not there, what they're reflecting back is that you might even be sitting next to her and listening to her, but you're still but you're not there. You're not in your body. You're thinking either about what you want to say or when she's going to be done talking. When it comes to bodily contact, instead of really being fully in the feeling of the embrace and the act of holding your partner, you're maybe thinking about video games or movies or what you have to do at work or the next thing. If you're somewhere else in your head as you're making physical contact with your partner, she's going to feel that you're not there. She's just going to know, or they're going to know, you know?
I wanted to add something too, because you said something, and I believe you said it earlier, was congruence. And I think that's key. It's not saying that you have to take out the trash with intention. And like you were saying, when my partner comes up to me and says, you're not really there, you're not supporting me, the bigger key, and that happens majority of the cases, is you're not in congruence when you're speaking with her or being present with her between here and making that true intentful contact. Maybe we just came up with a new term, but that intention behind everything, to say, I'm really trying to make contact with you. Or are you saying, yeah, sweetie, and you're looking at your phone? Same kind of thing. The baby. You're looking at your phone, and that's not real full contact.
What happens far too easily in medium to long-term relationships, let's say 2 years plus, is the man unconsciously shifts into relating to his female partner as his mother, and he polarizes into being a boy. And I want every one of you to fucking do this after this podcast. When you are doing the things that your partner asks you to do, you really get fucking honest about it. If you can like go back and replay the tape in your mind when you did the cat litter, took out the garbage, fixed the thing she asked. Are you doing that in the body as a boy who's kind of reluctantly, snivelly, a little annoyingly, because mommy said so? What's the fucking energy or intent that you're bringing to those actions? I guarantee you that you will find that there's a portion of you that's resentful of it and basically has fallen into the boy's logic, which is, okay, I'll do the things mommy says, then I'll be a good boy, and then hopefully she'll have sex with me or she'll like me. There is nothing mature masculine about that at all. And it's the most unconsciously disgusting and unattractive thing a woman can possibly feel from her male partner. All of a sudden, think about contact and intention and also your own masculine core. And it's like, whoa, how does doing those things become a form of structure, become a form of provision? for us men who no longer hunt or do agriculture, is a form of us caring for our land, caring for our habitat, and taking care of it in a very space holding kind of way. When those actions are done with pride and a sense and intent of provision, and actually as an act of love, as opposed to appeasement, that's the big distinction there. Almost all men are performing those activities as a boy, trying to appease a mom to be a good boy and get laid. Now, I hope all of you feel a little gross in your body, because that was the point, because it's true. When a man starts to realize how often he's actually being a boy, that incongruence is a little gross, or at least is in my body.
Yeah.
And when I say that the level of intimacy with me and my partner has gone up dramatically as I take on those same tasks with that fundamentally different intention of structure, of space holding, of not caretaking like codependency, but like caretaker of my domain. Her response has been phenomenal.
It's an incredible point. I think we could have a whole new podcast episode over that. Maybe a few. But no, I think that's actually a good point to end on, and perhaps have you on a future episode, because I would love to have you back.
Yeah, I'd love to be back. I'd love to talk about that. And again, still, somatics and being aware of your body and getting into it it's table stakes for this stuff working.
Yeah. I think that's actually, one of the points I was going to ask, is one of the last questions, over everything that we discussed, over the multiple different realms of embodiment, what would be a few key takeaways you'd want for especially men listening in?
The first is what we covered a little earlier in the podcast, which is that your body is capable of more than just feeling pain, arousal, humor, and hunger. And start being curious about what else is there. I think that's one big piece. Some other methods is things like Richard Miller's iRest, which is a form of body awareness. He has YouTubes on it. These are guided somatic awareness practices that can help you start feeling contrast and nuance in your body. The point, guys, changing your intention from just like getting opened up to actually feeling, and feeling, ooh, what feels good? What doesn't feel good? Maybe I don't always want to use a lacrosse ball shoved in my ass. Maybe I want to use something softer, right?
Yep.
and then also start in the gym or an exercise, start actually paying attention to what movement feels good. What movement maybe creates happiness or joy, and what movements don't, right? And look for, instead of making your body do the action, what actions does your body want to do? The simplest exercise could be, if you have a couple of things as part of your routine, arriving at the gym, closing your eyes, and then imagining a few of the exercises. Like imagine deadlifting versus kettlebell swinging versus getting on the treadmill. And really notice, does your body get a little more piqued, a little more excited, a little more interested, a little bit more drawn to one of those actions versus the other? This is the beginning of you being informed somatically and by what your body wants, rather than you just always dragging it around and telling it what to do. So those would be a couple of initial things to start exploring.
That's beautifully stated, brother.
Thank you.
Beautifully stated. And you have a book.
I do. It would be helpful as well. My book is called The Secret Language of the Body: Regulate Your Nervous System, Heal Your Body, and Free Your Mind. And it was designed from stem to stern to be a step-by-step guide into regulating your nervous system, becoming aware of your body, and seeing what profound kind of change is possible from the bottom up. And it was also very much written for people who are might have some conditions like chronic pain, chronic fatigue syndrome, burnout. It's really designed to help you recover your health if you've been suffering from nervous system overload for too long.
It's on order for me. So hopefully next time when we talk, we'll go over some parts of it too. I'm excited and looking forward to that and reading that. So
Fantastic, Phil. Thank you for
yeah.
having me.
Oh, thank you so much. How can guys reach to you or anybody reach out to you?
Uh, Best place is if you're on Instagram at Karden Rabin, Karden Rabin, Rabin. We're always doing good stuff on there. And then my business's website is called Somia, Somia, SomiaInternational.com. And that's where me and my business partner, Jen, where our programs live. And again, those programs are very much geared towards chronic pain and chronic illness because so much of the itises and syndromes and symptoms that have labels but no cure are the result of nervous system dysregulation. And that's the other good place to find us.
Well, thank you so much for your time today. And it was really great talking with you and seeing you again.
Yeah, pleasure.
It really was. Thanks, everyone.